Welcome to Concordia Seminary in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm Dale Meyer, and this is SEMcast. Joining us is Dr. James Veltz. Thanks, Jim, for joining us.
Great to be here.
We're talking about what Concordia Seminary does in the formation of pastors. But first, let's find out about the formation of this well-known exegetical professor. Tell us about yourself.
Well, Dale, I'm kind of like you are. I'm an old system grad. I went to Concordia Milwaukee, and then the senior college, and then here at the seminary, and graduated in '71, just a little bit before you did, and I have my degree from Cambridge University, and most people, lots of people maybe who might be seeing this, might remember me with connections with our sister seminary, Concordia Theological Seminary in Fort Wayne. I taught there for 14 years. And in fact, Dale, I'm so old that I actually taught in Springfield, for Pete's sake. So the last year that school was in Springfield, that was my first year of teaching. And I did spend 4 years on the pastoral staff at Zion Lutheran Church in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which was very important for my own formation. I came here in 1989 to join the faculty here, and in '96, I served the seminary also as Dean of the Graduate School till 2002. And so now I'm moving in a little different direction.
Tell us about your scholarly expertise.
Well, my degree from Cambridge was in New Testament, and specifically it was with Greek grammar. So I worked on Greek grammar, and I've written a Greek grammar, which we use here and in other schools as well, at Fort Wayne also. And then I've branched out from there to the more theoretical stuff in hermeneutics, which is theory of interpretation. So I've got a book on that. And right now I'm working on a commentary on the Gospel of Mark.
Oh, great. I have to tell you, viewers, that I don't know if anybody on our faculty that has more energy than Jim Veltz does. Yeah. Really, for such an old guy, Jim,
well,
you've got a lot of energy.
You know, we are able to get the senior discount now, Dale. And I mean, maybe I should just say that of me. Yeah, that's. I suppose
you save money on that.
You save money. I suppose I should mention my involvement in sports here.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. Up until this year now, I coached the soccer team in the fall, basketball team in winter, and tennis team in the spring. But now with this new position as Dean of the Faculty, I'm not going to be able to do basketball anymore. The time is just too much. But
I want to get into the position of Dean of the Faculty,
yeah.
But now that you brought up sports, seminary is not just about studying.
No. Well, this is an emphasis that you've brought that I really value: sound mind and sound body. I mean, it's
Juvenal, Roman poet Juvenal.
It's an old principle, and it's a good one. And I think that you've really brought a great emphasis here to rekindle that spirit of the total man. And you know, here's an interesting thing, Dale. In all the years I've been coaching, and it's been for over 30 years at this level, I think there's maybe only one person, maybe, that I can think of who played varsity sports in any one of the sports that I would have thought would not have made a great pastor. The sports kind of teaches you things. It teaches you about life. It teaches you about soldiering on when the cause looks hopeless. It teaches you about teamwork. And it's just great for collegiality. Wonderful thing.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. We've got a great sports program here, not only the intercollegiate games,
right,
but intramurals.
Great intramurals.
Yeah, and we've got the facilities for it here. So if you or somebody in your family is wondering, thinking, anticipating seminary life, you can come here and play and also study. And
yeah, and by the way, if you're a good goal scorer in soccer, we can always use you, right? Yeah. So any of the viewers who have who might be thinking of coming or have a son or Dale, I'll even say even a daughter. We have some deaconess people who play soccer for us, and we had our first woman tennis player for the tennis team. And it was really a thrill. She did a great job.
I'm glad you brought that up and we were able to talk about it. Dean of the Faculty, what does that mean? It's an imposing title. It's an important position. What does it mean?
Well, I don't know. This is this is a position that's sort of a new thing in the reorganization, and I was thinking today in preparation for our talk. You being a classicist, you know, the Greeks said that Athena sprang fully armed from the head of Zeus. Well, I wouldn't say this position is fully armed from the head of Dale. I would say that essentially it involves three things, I think. It involves being a leader to the faculty, an example to the faculty, and an advocate for the faculty. And I would put those three items in that they would operate in four areas: in the area of teaching, collegiality, scholarship, and then overall service to the church. So in those four areas, teaching, I think the dean of the faculty has to really be encouraging, helping guys with their teaching and so on. Collegiality, I take this as a huge part of this job, is to make sure that this faculty stays unified. And I'm really happy to tell you this. We have had nothing but tremendous compliments from outside people who have come to this campus about the collegiality of this place.
That's good to hear.
By example, Jack Kingsbury, a huge New Testament scholar, when he was here teaching a 2-week course, could not believe the collegiality between, for example, the systematicians and the exegetes. And they weren't at each other's throats. He said, he's never seen that before. We have this kind of collegiality.
Why do we have it?
Well, I'll tell you what, everybody is committed to the gospel, everybody is committed to people, and everybody is committed to the mission to form pastors, deaconesses, and leaders for the church.
Yeah, I like your categorization. I can't recite it all, but do it again.
Teaching, collegiality, scholarship, and service to the church at large.
Tell us about the credentials of this collegial faculty.
Hey, you know, this is a really interesting point. Let me tell you a little story. When I went to Cambridge in 1971, I was really surprised that people in Cambridge knew Concordia Seminary.
Is that right?
It was well known. That faculty was well known and well respected. Well, most people watching this are going to know we had some difficulty in the middle 70s, but I'm here to tell you, and I will easily tell anybody that is watching something like this, we are back, and we are back with a vengeance. This faculty right now, Dale, in my opinion, is better than the faculty before the walkout, from the 60s or the 50s. This faculty is fantastic. We have people with advanced degrees, PhDs, not only from Cambridge.
Most of our professors have PhDs.
Oh,
correct?
Absolutely. It's something like 75%. But they have degrees such as yourself, Washington University in St. Louis, University of Michigan, Notre Dame, University of Chicago, Stanford. I mean, these are highly reputable schools. And in addition, of course, some people have their degrees right from our own Concordia Seminary. So it's a great mix. The credentials are terrific. But I'd like to mention something else.
Sure.
And that is that these professors are also very active in scholarly societies and in the world of academia at large as well. For example, I attend the meetings of the International New Testament Society. I also go to Society of Biblical Literature. Paul Robbie and Andy Bartelt are big figures in that. They run seminars in Old Testament. So we have people attending those meetings, Catholic Biblical Association, Modern Reformation. Lots of these, our people have become, well, I would say, influential forces in, which is important. But then there's that third factor, my fourth point. Let's not lose that, service to the church at large.
Yeah, would you talk about that? Because one of the impressions that people mistakenly will have is that these fellows are up in their ivory tower thinking things about God that are really not relevant.
Oh, nothing could be further from the truth. I would say that service to the church at large would take two forms principally. Number one, our faculty is tremendously active in local parishes. Most people don't realize that. For example, I teach a Bible class at St. Paul's de Pere. Andy Bartelt has had a long-running Bible class down at Christ Memorial in Afton.
On the radio.
On the radio as well. There are people doing vacancies. William Utek is helping with that coffee house, Christ in the City. I mean, it's on that level of the St. Louis area, it's tremendous what's done. I was thinking, though, even more of our church at large. You would be surprised, well, you read faculty notes and so on, but you would be surprised how many guys go out to speak at circuit meetings, district pastoral conferences, all district professional church worker conferences. They will give essays at even the National Synodical Convention and so on. This is an extremely important ministry, and frankly, one I really value. I don't have any greater time than going out into the districts, seeing students of mine that were, either at Fort Wayne or here, that I haven't seen for 5, 10, 15 years, catch up with things, see how they're growing. It's just a great experience.
Well, one of my own personal involvements is serving on the Board of Trustees for the American Bible Society.
Right.
The American Bible Society goes back to 1818. I give a plug for the group. And what I've discovered in sitting around the board table with representatives of all denominations is that we Lutherans, we're the scholars of the gospel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have been blessed by such great faculties that we are able to take the truths of God's word, law and gospel,
right,
and lay it out in a way that people, wow.
Yeah.
And so then I come back from meetings like that, I say, what a great place this is, and let's get this into our students so that they can continue the tradition. Yeah. Would you talk about the teaching of students in class?
Well, I'll tell you what, here's where our guys, I think, are fantastic. And every once in a while, people will ask me, well, what does it take to be a great teacher? It seems to me that there are three things, and you've got to have all of these. Number one, you have to be competent in your area. That almost goes without saying, but as one of our colleagues says, if it goes without saying, nobody says it. So that's number one. But number two, you've got to love people. You've got to love people. It's not an ivory tower thing. You have to actually want to interact with people. And then number three, this may surprise you, but I think this is very important. You have to remember what it's like not to know. You got to remember what it's like when I teach beginning Greek to be uncomfortable with the alphabet. What is it like I can't get the A declension? You've got to remember what it's like to be like that.
I had a student ask me once, I teach homiletics, preaching, although my training is in the Greek and Latin classics. A student asked me, how do you memorize a sermon? Because I want my students to prepare and have their sermon memorized and not be looking down like that. And he asked, how do you memorize? He had never known how to memorize.
Right.
So what you say is really true. Sometimes I at least assume that, well, they know what I know, and that's not the case.
No, and often this is where I think we have to be very careful in faculty acquisition and so on. Just being competent in the field is not enough. You have to be able to have that interactive ability and to remember, what it's like that this student doesn't know all the things you know. It's very, very key.
You mentioned faculty acquisition. I assume you're active in that also.
Yes, and I'm really happy to say that I'm actually, I don't think you even know this, I've been getting actual communications from the field now of people saying, hey, our pastor is maybe the seminary would like to consider him. Or I had this great prof in college. I don't know. This is great.
That's
wonderful.
Great.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a wrap-up question.
Sure.
What excites you about Concordia Seminary in this 21st century?
Oh, man. What excites me? I think we've got the greatest faculty probably that any seminary has assembled any place in the world. My colleagues are absolutely fantastic. this is going to sound terrible for me to say it, Dale, but your leadership has been great. I really appreciate that. And our
I
students,
paid you enough. I
Yeah,
paid you
that's
enough
right.
for that one. Yeah.
But our students are so committed and are ready to preach and to teach the gospel. What more could you ask for?
You probably have the same feeling that I have. Serving at Concordia Seminary is what my life is about.
That's right.
I could ask for nothing more from the good Lord than to be privileged to be here and do the things that you've been talking about. Yeah.
We just finished beginning Greek yesterday, and I went to a little barbecue with the guys afterward. I mean, that's what it's all about.
God bless them. I want to thank you, Dr. Veltz. It's been a great visit with you here on SEMcast, and thanks to you as well for watching. SEMcast is just one of many great resources available to you from Concordia Seminary. Look for others at our website, www.csl.edu. We'll see you for another SEMcast soon.